Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, people of all ages, sexualities, and identities, and welcome back to another Doctor Who review. And today's Doctor Who review is, of course, Wish World. Now, before we get into this, you have been warned there is spoilers in this video, so if you go any further than this, it's at your own peril. Now, let's get into the video, shall we? Now, our story starts with the Rani in Bulgaria. She seems to have gone there looking for something, looking for someone. And when she arrives, she comes across a family looking for a midwife. But, of course, the baby has already been born, meaning that the midwife is not needed. But nonetheless, a kind stranger allows the Rani into his house in hopes that she will make sure the child is all right. But the Rani has other ideas when she gets to the house. She takes the baby from its mother's arms and turns the mother into rose petals, quite literally. She then turns all 7 children into geese, and the old man into an old wise owl. This is all because the baby that she holds in her hand lets her wish for anything she wants. Absolutely anything. She leaves with the child and heads off to do her work. And then, this is when the doctor comes in. The doctor and, well, did I say doctor? Mr. John Smith and Miss Smith, Miss Belinda Smith, both wake up in bed, and on their TV is none other than Conrad. Now, to anyone thinking, oh, yes, I remember Conrad, yes, he was in Lucky Day, and he's back again within this scheme with the Rani. He has been gifted the mad, terrible child, which allows him to wish for anything he wants. And of course, Conrad wished for this entire world to be the way it is, and even for the Doctor to lose his memories and become part of this society. But of course the Doctor knows none of this. All he knows is that he lives in a nice house with a lovely wife and a lovely child, and that's all. Simple and bliss. But soon the Doctor is going to have his whole world turned upside down, especially when a Miss Ruby Sunday turns up on his doorstep, calling him the Doctor, but he's only ever known his name to be John Smith. After having an argument with Miss Ruby Sunday, the Doctor goes and reminisces with his good friend, Melanie Bush. They both stand outside their houses and look up into the sky, and the Doctor begins to say, I wonder how anyone could ever not believe our world is the way it is. How anyone could ever doubt it. The Doctor then heads to work at Unit, in where he begins to do talks over the phone with people about the society they live in. Halfway through a conversation after the conversation with the phone, he begins to talk to one of his colleagues about Kate Stewart. The Doctor points out that a little bit of gossip going around the office is that Kate likes Chinese, and the best way to get things going is to take her out to Chinese for a date. Now, at first, his colleague is very lenient, but then he turns against Mr. Smith when he calls him beautiful, a beautiful man, and the Doctor slips up and his old personality starts to slip through. He doesn't know quite what he's doing or why he's there, but he feels like he has doubt, and that doubt is starting to consume him. Back at home, though, Belinda is also having a bit of doubt, as her auntie and her mother begin to question her on the birth of her own child, asking her about labour and how long she was in labour with Poppy. But Belinda doesn't remember, and the 2 women give her an estranged look. How can a woman not remember the birth of her own child, they say. and Belinda runs off out of the house into a field in the middle of nowhere and starts screaming at the top of her lungs. She knows that she can't recount where Poppy came from, but she still wants to believe that Poppy is her child, even though she knows it's not really the case. Time is slowly running out. The clock to midnight keeps ticking. Ruby is elsewhere, and she has just gone into a community of disabled people who have been overshadowed by the world. They no longer exist in Conrad's eyes, so they can't be seen, but they see each other. The disarrayed, the different, anyone who Conrad sees as different has gone to this community and has found a home. But they don't sit around, as Shirley points out to Ruby. No, they do something. They make a stand. And they show the world that they exist. And that night, their first step towards being seen once again is to finally bring Conrad down. They believe he is the one who believes himself to be God over all this domain. He is going to wreak havoc. But what is he really up to? And why have the Rani, of all people, teamed up with him? Well, that's exactly what the Doctor's about to find out. The Doctor turns up absolutely clueless, still thinking he's John Smith. Belinda the same, and then as soon as they go through the barrier, they are greeted by a very, very happy Rani. The Rani begins to dance with the Doctor, a crystal ball over above, the pair of them going on about old times. Well, more the Rani than the Doctor's still trying to put the puzzle together. But eventually he gets there, and he starts to see images in his head of an old incarnation of the Rani, and it all starts to play into place. As it does so, the Doctor begins to start asking more questions. The Rani points out that she used his Vindicator tech in order to use it on the clock, in order to get what she wants. She also takes him to Conrad, who's holding a baby, the baby who grants wishes. And they point out that this baby is granting all the wishes and everything that Conrad has created. But then the Doctor begins to question her and says, "But why do you want doubt then? Doubt would affect the wishes. Doubt would stop the wishes being real." But then the two Ranis cackle as they explain to the Doctor that by bringing doubt into the equation itself, they begin to destroy reality itself, especially on a level that doubt is being created on a Time Lord. The puzzle isn't complete. The Rani still keeps chiming on at the Doctor about some mysterious malevolent force who could be more powerful than them all together and why they want to bring them back. And then it strikes the Doctor. All of a sudden, she doesn't just want to bring anybody back. She wants to bring back a Time Lord lost in a universe of antimatter. Oh, a Time Lord. They chose Omega. Now, Omega, to anyone who doesn't know, Omega was a Time Lord who was betrayed by Rassilon. He was working on a star engine when they were creating time and space itself, and all of a sudden he gets shot into a black star and lost forever. Well, so they thought. Until one day the Doctor, Joe, and the Brigadier go into an antimatter universe in which they discover Omega and find out the truth of what's really going on. They find out that Omega has created a way of living in this antimatter universe, but wants to come back to their reality. But of course, because he's made of antimatter, and antimatter and matter can't mix, he can't come back to our reality. So the Doctor tricks him, lets him get trapped there, and of course, we haven't seen him ever since. Well, except from that time on the Ark of Infinity, when he fails to create his own body. But that's a story for another time. So the Rani wants Omega back. One of the finest Time Lord minds in existence, but a person who's been driven mad. So what did I think of Wishworld overall? Well, I like the plot. I like how Mrs. Flood is like the Gestapo. I like the idea that mugs seemingly seem to break randomly when there's a lot of doubt. I like the way the Rani is very flamboyant in this episode. I like that they brought back Omega. But, and I do have a but with this episode, I feel like there's one or two elements that could have been handled a little bit more cleanly. The major one that comes to mind is Belinda. Is Belinda a great character in this episode? Yes. Do I believe that she is the mother of Poppy in the beginning of the episode? Yes. Do I believe, though, that Belinda doesn't know the truth about Poppy? Of course. But fair enough, you got Belinda to go out into the middle of nowhere and run and scream into the air, but I feel like we could have slightly got a better reaction in this episode if Belinda had turned around for a second, kitchen, anywhere, when she's supposed to be out with Poppy, and Poppy just vanishes. Now, hear me out. I'm taking this exactly from the book of what happened with Donna Noble in Silence of the Library. The idea of losing that child, the idea of how sentimental she was in the whole story for caring for that child, would be so much more powerful with the confusion, so much more heartbreaking. I feel like that was the direction it should have gone in. What else? I mean, other than that, the whole fracture was brilliant. Omega's reveal was brilliant. The Doctor's performance in this was brilliant. Although another one, I feel like the Doctor should have got a little bit more time before people started turning on him. I felt like that was a bit too instant. He's gone in a room, he said something, they're all switching on him in minutes. I feel like, yes, what he said, fair enough, it's gonna start turning faces because of the way their society works. But I feel like it was too quick. It was too rushed. Oh, doctor said this, get on his case. Doctor said this, get on his case. Give him time to establish the audience that he has been living in this society for weeks. Not make it look like he moved in yesterday and now he says one thing wrong and they're all on his back. So now for the scorecard of Wishworld. Well, I was going to score this higher, but because of the points I've pointed out before, I'm going to have to give Wishworld a 7 out of 10. Thank you for watching. We will see you in the next Doctor Who review. Until then, goodbye, stay beautiful, and Alonzi, my beautiful Whovians.